When Hollywood Insider announced that Diana Gabaldon, the legendary creator of Outlander, would sit down for a rare, unfiltered interview, no one could have predicted what was about to unfold. The headline alone sent shockwaves across the fandom. They were never just co-stars. Within minutes, the internet ignited. Fan forums crashed, hashtags trended worldwide. What did Diana mean? Was she finally confirming what millions had long whispered, that something deeper, more elusive existed between Sam and Caitriona Balfe? In the quiet of her sunlit New Mexico study, surrounded by old manuscripts and the faint scent of coffee and ink, Diana smiled knowingly as she began her story. "I remember their first chemistry test," she said softly, her eyes glimmering with nostalgia. "We were sitting behind the monitor, and when Sam looked at her, it wasn't acting, it was instinct, as if they'd known each other for lifetimes." The room had fallen silent that day. The camera stopped rolling, but neither of them moved. They just stood there, breathing the same air, bound by something unseen. "I knew right then," Diana continued, "that Outlander had found its heart. And maybe those two had found something else too. During the early seasons, the Scottish Highlands became their entire universe. The cold winds, the long hours, the isolation from family, it all drew them closer. It wasn't about glamour," Diana recalled. "It was survival, emotional, creative, human." She laughed quietly as memories resurfaced. How Caitriona would hand Sam hot tea between takes. How he refused to leave the set until she finished a difficult scene. He said, "If she's out here freezing, I'm staying too." That wasn't a line from a script. That was loyalty. As Outlander grew into a global phenomenon, so did the fascination with its two leads. The world stopped separating fiction from reality. People wanted Jamie and Claire to be real, Diana said, and that kind of pressure, you could feel it even from the sidelines. She saw it all unfold up close. During one intense farewell scene in season 2, she watched from behind the cameras. When the director called cut, Sam didn't move. Tears were still running down his face. Caitriona reached out and touched his arm, and for a moment it felt like we'd stepped into something private, too real, too raw. That was the first time Diana felt the fragile line between performance and reality dissolve. There was love there, she admitted carefully, but not the kind that fits neatly into words. By the time filming began for Outlander 2026, the long-anticipated final season, years of shared triumphs and exhaustion, had created something unspoken: trust, affection, and a quiet ache. You could see it, Diana said, in how they avoided eye contact between takes, or how they'd laugh too quickly as if trying to cover something heavier. Rumors never stopped swirling, and both actors learned to deflect gracefully. But on-set truth sometimes slipped through the cracks. She remembered one late-night shoot in Glasgow. Sam forgot his line, something that almost never happened. He laughed it off, but Caitriona looked at him with this mix of concern and tenderness, Diana recalled. After the scene, she whispered something to him. He nodded, and when she walked away, he wiped his eyes. No one said a word. Her voice softened. "People ask me if they were together. The truth is, even they might not have known how to define it. It was deeper than friendship, but not bound by romance. It was an understanding." She paused, her gaze drifting toward the desert light spilling across her desk. That's what made it beautiful and painful. When the interviewer finally asked whether the world would ever know the full story of Sam and Caitriona, Diana smiled faintly. "Maybe," she said, "but not yet. Some stories need time, some truths the world just isn't ready to hear." Then she leaned closer, lowering her voice like she was revealing a secret. "But I will tell you this," she whispered. "On the final day of filming Outlander 2026, I saw something I'll never forget. In that moment, I realized the truth, the one the world was never meant to see." Her words hung in the air like a riddle, a promise and a warning all at once. The interviewer leaned forward. "What truth?" Diana hesitated. For a long moment she stared at her hands, as if debating whether to speak at all. Finally she sighed. It happened on their last day filming together the final scene of Outlander 2026. The cast and crew gathered in the misty highlands that morning, the air thick with rain and farewell. After nearly a decade, side by side, Sam and Caitriona were about to film their very last moment as Jamie and Claire Fraser. Diana stood quietly behind the monitor, watching through a veil of drizzle and emotion. It wasn't just another scene, she said. It was goodbye, not only for the characters, but for them. When the cameras rolled, something extraordinary happened. Sam and Caitriona didn't act, they felt. Every look, every line carried 10 years of laughter, heartbreak, and shared history. The crew barely breathed. And when the director called cut, they didn't move. They stayed in each other's arms long after the cameras stopped. Caitriona whispered something no one could hear. Sam closed his eyes. A tear fell. There was silence, Diana said. Not the awkward kind, but sacred. When they finally let go, it felt like watching two souls say goodbye in real life. That moment, she said, changed how she saw them forever. "People ask me if they were ever in love," Diana murmured. The answer is yes, but not in the way you think. It wasn't about romance or possession. It was purer. They loved through the work, through the art, through everything they built together. And when it ended, they had to set that love free. The interviewer sat speechless. Did they ever talk to you about it? Diana nodded. A few days later, Caitriona called me. She said, I didn't realize how hard it would be to say goodbye to him. And at the wrap party, Sam told me, it's strange, isn't it, when someone becomes part of who you are? She smiled faintly. They never needed grand declarations. You could feel everything between them without a single word. Diana confessed she had always felt protective of them. They carried my story with such truth that sometimes I forgot it was fiction. But I also saw how much it cost them. Fame is a double-edged sword. The world adored their chemistry, but it came at a price they didn't deserve. For years, she watched them struggle beneath the weight of expectation. There were times they both wanted to walk away, not from each other, but from everything around them. They didn't want to lose the friendship that grounded them, and they never did. When asked what she'd say to fans convinced that Sam and Caitriona hid a secret romance, Diana chuckled softly. People always want to label things friendship, love, soulmates. But some connections exist beyond language. What they shared can't be categorized. It was real, but it was theirs. Then, almost as an afterthought, she said something that stayed with readers long after the article was published. The truth is, Outlander was never just fiction. It was a mirror. Through Jamie and Claire, Sam and Caitriona learned how to love, lose, and let go. That's why the story felt so alive, because a part of it was. When the interview aired, the fandom erupted once again. Clips of Diana's words flooded social media. They loved each other through the work. It wasn't acting anymore. The truth was written between the lines. Neither Sam nor Caitriona responded publicly, but fans noticed something. On Caitriona's Instagram appeared a quiet image of the Scottish sky, grateful for every chapter. A day later, Sam posted a photo from the same day, the same sky, different angle, with the caption, "Some stories never really end." The internet exploded. But Diana, watching from her study, only smiled. "Let them wonder," she said softly. "Some mysteries are meant to stay beautiful." As the interview drew to a close, she leaned back in her chair, her voice gentle yet certain. "The truth about Sam and Caitriona," she said with a small, knowing smile, "was never about scandal. It was about connection, the kind that outlives the story itself." And with that, the woman who created their world closed the final page of the tale she had begun so many years ago, leaving millions of hearts aching, believing once again that some loves are too real to ever fade.